What's up, you guys? Welcome back to the Brews Business Podcast. I'm Braden Cruz, streaming live here at the Blue Studio. Today we're going to be talking about branding and is it really necessary? I have with me in the studio, as always, Abel Rodriguez with ARC Outdoorsman. Did I do that right?
Kind of, sort of.
Kind of, sort of. Okay, well,
It's good enough.
Can I have some credit?
You can have a little bit of credit.
All right, appreciate that. And then we have Chance Jones with Threaded Industries.
How are you today?
I'm doing great. And then we have a featured guest. Abel brought him in. Would you like to introduce him?
Yes, sir. This is Josh Adeshkan with Accurate Power Washing. Good longtime friend. And even though we don't hang out as much as I'd like, somebody I hold to the highest regard. And I want to emulate him as best as I can.
Thank you, brother. Much appreciated. Much appreciated. Thanks for having me, guys. Appreciate it.
Yeah, very glad to have you here, man. So, with me in the marketing space, I always have conversations with people on whether or not branding is important and kind of like what that looks like and messaging and creating a loyal following and all that kind of stuff. And so, with managing a lot of social media accounts to websites and marketing collateral and stuff like that. So, before we get too far in, I want to learn a little bit about what you do and how you do it and what's your day-to-day like?
Yeah. So my journey into the business world started just about 7.5 years ago. I started Accurate Power Washing. I had a full-time job at the time, and I knew that I was miserable. I hated going to that job every day, and so everything, about my work experience was negative. So I was like, I've got to do something else. And even when I was a teenager, I still I had a little lawn mowing company at one time, and I remember one time we started a French drain installation company, made it through one French drain install and gave up. But, I always had that kind of entrepreneur mindset and really enjoyed the idea of, having my own thing, and so the first business that I started was Accurate Power Washing. Like I said, we started in 2015, very humble beginnings, very tough start where you worked your day job during the day, and then you hustle at nighttime. And, so we were doing a lot of commercial power washing in the middle of the night.
Dang, in the middle of the night?
In the middle of the night. So our first contract was McDonald's.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah,
all right.
It was brutal, because we'd show up at, all McDonald's are 24 hours, for the most part. So we'd show up at 10 o'clock when it's not that busy after having worked a 12-hour day at my sweatshop pretty much. And then we turn around and work for 5-6 hours at night. I had one business partner at the time. Him and I did all the work. And, that wasn't sustainable for too long. So we did that for a good probably 7-8 months. Then I ended up getting laid off from that job. And that turned out to be the best thing that could have happened to me. And I would love to say that the next thing was, my business blew up, and everything was great after that. But no, it was – my business partner decided to leave because the business wasn't doing enough to support him. So he kind of just left me high and dry. I was working construction, which is by far the hardest job that I've ever had. And I did that until the winter came around, and that was in 2015. And I decided, you know what? This business is either going to work or it's going to work. I had my back against the wall, and I said, I'm not giving up. So
yep.
I kind of put all my chips in the middle of the table and never looked back. And so over the years, the business has grown quite a lot. So it's been a great journey, man. It's been fun.
Man, that's exciting.
I've got a quick question for you because I've known you for quite some time.
Yeah.
So you went to college. What was your degree in?
Yeah, so I did not get a degree.
Okay.
Yeah. So glorified college dropout. Let's go, baby.
Hey, that's the way it goes right there. Okay.
Yeah. Originally went to school for civil engineering, then decided that I hated the math side of things, which if you're going to be an engineer, you better love the math.
Yeah.
So,
sure.
I dropped out after about 1.5 years of doing that.
Cool.
Yep.
That's pretty cool. What is, I'm going to go ahead and just ask you, Abel, start with you. What's your perception on branding and how does it affect you and your business? Is that something that you've prioritized over time? Is it becoming a priority or was it a priority when you first started?
Man, I think it was always a priority to us. I think originally we weren't quite sure what that meant, but I know we always wanted, as you know, like we have standard colors, right? We got your red, your gray, and your black. You've got the name, the logo that goes everywhere. Something that kind of comes to mind whenever you ask that question is whenever we started the company, my dad used to tell us that, hey, you don't need to worry about putting your logo everywhere. You don't need to worry about all that. Just get after it. You know, you don't want to do all that because then it just puts a big old target on your back. And we straight up told him, like, no, Dad, that's not the type of business we want to run. Like, we want to run a very reputable, known company. We want to be out there for everybody. So he told us very strongly, like, no, you just need to go out there to get the work done. You'll build a good, strong business that way. That was never the intention we had for the business. So right off the bat, all our trucks got stickered. Everything that we did had ARC outdoorsman on it. And even still to its day, everything that we do has ARC outdoorsman in it. It stands behind it. And even like as far as our social media has gone or our marketing now, you guys do it all, or most of it. And a lot of why we use you comes down to the appearance towards our consumers is consistent. So like our website matches to what our Facebook looks like, matches to what our Instagram looks like. Everything looks uniform. So whenever it comes down to the consumer getting in touch with us, they pretty well know what to expect based off of everything else they've seen from us. So it has always been something important to us, although I'm not sure we, even still to this day, actually understand or grasp the entire concept of what branding really means.
Didn't you say that there was a customer once that decided to go with you because you were posting on social media?
So actually,
that was the decision that she said, right?
Yes, that is actually a great story that you bring that up because she actually reached out to me this week. She chose us because we were consistent on our marketing. We had a website. We had a presence, plain and simple. And whenever she requested on Facebook, as many consumers do nowadays, this is her words. She said there was a bunch of Juans, Martins, Jose's with phone numbers. And she's like, and there was one recommendation for ARC Outdoorsman. And she's like, I went to your Facebook page. I looked at it. I saw your website, which at that point was the old website. But either way, she saw all of this, and she was like, so I decided to choose you because I felt somebody would actually show up, which she actually reached out on Wednesday for a warranty on two of her trees that died. And in that time, I was able to use that as reassurance for her to say that, hey, you made the right call, because I didn't ignore that. You're not going to have to replace those two trees through someone else. This is something she reached out. I said, okay, perfect. Can I set a meeting with you on Monday? We'll look at those trees. We'll get something straightened out. I already got it on the schedule for when we're going to replace them. So that's also, part of branding. She expected me to actually show up on time to be there, and I did. And now she paid for a warranty. She's getting a warranty, and it comes down to she's getting what she expected. So yes, nice. It's a big circle thing.
Yeah. Yeah. And, branding connects the company to the customer and vice versa. It's important, I believe, in any size business, whether you're a small startup, a partnership, a corporation. There's plenty of reasons why, and we'll go into those here in a minute. And when it comes to that, like, you're a startup, right? You're a fairly new business. Like, you're 4 months old, 3 months old. 3 months new. Let's say it that way, right?
No, not even that, honestly. So, like, less than 2 months. No, 2 months, the 19th. It'll be 2 months. So, yeah, relatively new. The company, we've been building it for the last 2 years almost. But as far as, like, our exposure and our brand awareness, it's less than 2 months old. So I would say for the traction that we have at 2 months is crazy. And that comes back to branding, What do we stand for? What are our goals? And being transparent to that and letting people know exactly who we are and what we do.
One of the things that branding does is it unites. So kind of like what I said, where it links the company to the customer. It links everything from your name to your logo, your online presence, your products and your services, and appeals to the masses, right? Or to your target audience, right? To your demographic. It makes marketing consistent when you're consistently posting and you've got the same colors, the same vibes, the same messaging, and that kind of goes all the way through to, I think, what we're going to be talking about on our next episode about customer and employee retention. And we're going to be talking about some consistency, and I think on a few other podcasts we talked about how important consistency is in general, and building that consistency throughout your company culture, right? And passing that on through, making sure that they're professional, punctual, they're on time, they know how to communicate. All that stuff is really important, right? And so it's important that you do that across all channels. And a lot of times, it's the decision factor between whether or not I'm going to work with you or work with this other guy. A lot of times those are important elements. Do you have anything to pitch in at this point? Do you have any thoughts?
I wanted to throw something in there real quick. On the terms of branding, a lot of times we're always thinking of the customer side, which obviously is extremely important. Mm-hmm. But another point too that I just thought about is how important it is for a business owner to have a branded business. One of the things that I realized, like right off the bat, especially when I was the on-site coordinator, I was the employee, I was the, you know what I mean? Like I was wearing all the different hats. All of our reviews had my name. They're like, Josh does great work. Josh does this. Josh does that. And I remember that being, at first it was like, oh yeah, that's great. And then quickly I realized how dangerous that is, because if your name as the business owner or one individual within the business is synonymous with the good work, then they only expect those results if
with that one
person is there.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yes. And so for me, branding became so important because I realized I have to create a system or create something that shows that accurate is synonymous with good work. If any representative of accurate power washing or accurate concrete coatings is here working, you can expect these results. So yeah, I just wanted to throw that in there real quick, that for the business owner, it is vital that you brand. If you ever have any intention of separating yourself from the day-to-day of the business or being out in the field.
Right.
I can relate to that too, and it makes it a little easier as you start adding more people, right? They start to not just think of the company as just you, right? And with you in the power washing business with that partner, like that's all they thought was just you. They didn't think of like, wow, the company did great or they offered a great service. They're like, this guy, he did good. And I'm like, exactly. That's all your review said. And to some degree, like personal branding is good, but your personal brand, I think, should be separated from the business, right? Because like what we're doing here is personal branding, right? We're not sitting here promoting our product, service, or whatever company we're representing, right? But yeah, so that's really important. So go ahead.
Sorry, Josh brought up a great point. Both of you guys kind of brought this to my attention. On another aspect of what branding could mean, and I'm not sure how many people think about this, but you can also brand to your employees. So one of the things that we've talked about on the podcast before is how we at ARC take care of our employees and the things that we do. And one of the jokes that I've been saying since last week whenever we went on our float trip was, hey, don't tell your friends because then they're going to come work for us. It's a joke, but in the same sense, it's like that's branding towards your employees, which will attract the similar employees. Right. The employees that work hard and take pride in their work, they associate with other people that are exactly the same way. There's a reason we associate together, right? It's because we have the same core values. We run off the same stuff. So branding could also go down to marketing towards your employees, whether that's your time off, how you run your culture in the company, or everything in there. That branding is it literally is the entire company. It's not just one section, like you said, not just towards consumers, not just towards getting away from ourselves, but also to the employees, where they can then take your brand and pass it on to your customers as well. Because they understand what in my perspective, they understand what the ARC brand is.
Yeah, and the customer starts to expect that from everybody else. Exactly. Yeah, like if I go to Starbucks, I'm going to expect a certain level of customer service. I'm going to name off like some 10 reasons on why branding is important to any company on any level, and then we can come back through and jump on a few of them. So if one of these stick out to you, hold your finger up and then pitch in. So here are 10 words: united, asset, sales, deliverance, perception, preference, loyalty, trust, extension, and protection. Do any of those stand out to you? Oh, it's finger time.
So
Do you remember that? there was a video that went around that was like that with bad lip readings. Do you remember that? It's finger time.
man, I don't remember that.
That's okay.
Must be out of here. You're only a year older than me. No. So one of those things that, and this may be different for individual business owners, but it's never been a secret of mine that I plan to sell my business. Long term, that is the plan. I don't want, like Josh, separating yourself from the business. I do not want to be a part of my business forever. I definitely want to be a part of creating it and creating what this beautiful thing will be. But at one point, I want to separate myself. And I think branding actually helps make your business a bigger asset, because whenever a buyer comes in here and they can see the brand that your company is, they can see your process, they can see your systems, it becomes a higher asset. So that way it's not just, oh, I'm buying all this equipment. They are buying a brand. It's a much bigger asset that I think as business owners, maybe we forget about that. Or maybe, you don't want to sell the business, and that's okay too. But it's still, in Chance's aspect, let's say he wanted to build his business, but he wanted to keep it forever. That's still a huge asset to build a brand to where other large companies will want to work with him because of this asset he's grown, versus just, well, this is just another company, fly by the company. No, he's got a following of the brand here, which is huge. And like I said, so depending on which way you take the business, I think branding, united branding, as you also said, that really helps to increase the value of your company, on multiple areas.
I know a local small business that they spent about $120,000 on marketing and advertising in their first year, and going into close to year 3, they were looking at selling the business, but didn't want to sell with the brand name. And I was like, oh, man, like you spent all this time, energy, effort, you had all these people back you, and the name just vibed so well with it. And I was thinking, man, like if I went to go buy it, I'd really want the name with it, because you've got all the impressions, you've got all these people that recognize the name now, or they're learning to recognize it, and it's just going to be thrown away trying to start all over, So when I think of, when you said asset, and that stuck out to you, so you said brand as an asset, what you represent to the public is a huge chunk of your business, right? The worth is just as much as the revenue and the sales, and a lot's at stake. Finances, creativity, and time is on the line with all of that. Branding will make the difference between revenue, sales, and debt and liquidation. Would you agree with that?
Definitely.
Yeah. So did any of those other 8 other things, did that anything stand out to you, Chance?
Sales.
What about sales?
If people recognize you as a brand and know what your brand stands for, especially if you can condense it, or make it concise as to just one statement. If you can brand that one statement, be known for that one statement, you will obviously have an increase in sales. If it's something people can get behind. So if you build your brand on the right values, what you go for is clear and concise, something people can get behind. That is a brand that will do good in sales.
So like sayings like Charmin, like less is more.
Less is more.
I mean, how powerful is that right there? How many words is that? Less is more.
3.
That's 3 words. Wow. And any time that you say that, you immediately think of Charmin.
Yep.
And it's amazing. Some people are like, they don't value brand and the time and the thoughts, or pushing it and making sure that it's consistent and everywhere and repeatable. But it makes a big difference. Branding will increase sales and revenue for your business. Right then and there. When I think of less is more and Charmin, when I'm at the store and I see Charmin, I'm like, oh yeah. I can relate.
I can get behind this.
and the way that they make you feel in their commercials, when it's comfortable, right? And the teddy bear is a teddy bear or what? A polar bear?
It's like a bear, just a
Just a
bear.
bear.
Generic bear.
Bears are warm and cuddly, and I
don't know the bears you hang out with.
Well,
Whoa.
that's what they look like.
Whoa.
Right?
Okay.
They're white
Charmin
bears,
bears.
and they're fluffy, and they're always happy
Care
and
Bear.
smiling. They're Care Bear style bears. They're not black bears in the
Yeah,
wild,
exactly.
right?
Just rip
And
you.
this is a Bass Pro Shop.
Hey, man. Good old Bass Pro Shop.
So I'm curious to hear on Josh your take on this, considering you have and are main owner. You operate Accurate Power Washing, but you've also had Accurate Concrete Coatings, and your branding carried through both. Which we had Nathan on here a couple weeks ago, and he's in the similar boat where he's got a couple of different businesses that run the same brand. It's the same name, same feel. So I'm curious as to what that has meant to you through that transition, through running both of those.
Yeah, that's a great question. Kind of going back to what we were talking about earlier in terms of being united, and making sure everybody on the team has an awareness of what is our brand, what is the message that we're trying to portray to our customers, to each other, and that company culture. One of the most important things for me was when I started Accurate Concrete Coatings. Of course, that business we were doing work under Accurate Power Washing, so it wasn't big enough to just start on its own. Then eventually the legs grew, and it was able to be a separate entity. But the most important piece of that is my business partner Ryan. And so a really good example of this just happened this past week. So we had a lady called in. She had this very unique type of job where she thought she needed power washing, and we. I just kind of sat with her on the phone. I was out of town. I was in Iowa visiting some family friends. And so I'm just casually on the phone with this lady, and she's like, yeah, I think I need blah, 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 blah. And I realized, okay, well, this is not our field. We can't help you here. But I knew that Ryan on the concrete coating side could. So I told her, hey, I'll get you in contact with someone who can help you with what you're needing. Long story short, passed her over to Ryan. Ryan kind of took things from there. I had briefed him on what it was that she was needing, and the guys are out there in Eufaula right now taking care of that project. But the most important thing is I have 100% trust that the type of care that I have for a customer and how I interact with them is going to be immediately reciprocated by Ryan and how he interacts with them. So not only is it important for your business, or if you have multiple businesses, for that passion to carry through, your brand, if it has different facets, so to speak. But, the trust that I have as a business owner, that I like, okay, this partner of mine can just pick up right where I left off, and they're going to have the exact same experience or better. That is incredible, So I would say that was one of the most important things for me in that kind of splitting off process, is having the trust to know that we have a united front, whether they're being serviced by the business that I kind of manage or the one that Ryan is operating, they're going to get that same level of care and experience. And I think that's so vital.
And that goes into one of our previous episodes where we talked about culture.
Yeah.
I think the last one we talked about or the one before last was the hustle culture.
Hustle culture.
Yeah. And then kind of building just a culture in general. I think we've talked about that another episode as well outside of that one. Loyalty is another one that kind of stuck out with me. And this is something that we talked about just shortly before we hopped on here.
Right.
A good brand will create customer loyalty, right? It'll make them repeat customers when they have that kind of experience that you're talking about, to where they know that the culture is they trust each other, right? The loyal customers that will continue to support you in good and bad times. And that's powerful. And they'll spread that positive message, and they become promoters, right? Their influence will introduce new people to the company as well. And I've got Bobby here that asked a question on the live. So if you want to answer that, whoever wants to pitch in, get ready for finger time. We're going to make that a thing. We should just make that a sound effect. Can we? Just like, it's finger time.
It's finger time. That sounds, I don't know about that.
Yeah, I don't
Like,
know
If people would get it. Okay, you're right.
Yeah.
So
let's not start there. Let's not start
do you
there.
think a good rebrand can generate enough sales to justify the cost?
I'll speak on it real fast. I believe if you actually fully get behind the rebrand and what it would stand for, and don't be, set in your ways of, I don't want to do it, it can justify the cost, because having other people's perception on your own brand and going through a rebrand, would be able to help facilitate other people's opinion of you and bring everyone's thought together. And then if you don't stand against it, I think a rebranding could definitely increase sales.
You agree?
Yeah, I agree with that. And I would say that alongside that, the intention behind the rebrand is so important. Because if you have just, we see that a lot in the construction company where fortunately they have a couple deals go sour.
Yeah.
So they try and just rebrand.
Just flip it a little bit right here.
Exactly. So that this LLC can't get sued, whatever it may be. But if the intention behind it is, no, we just, we don't like the culture that we have. We're making some personnel changes. We're cleaning house. If they're fully committed, just like you were saying, to the rebrand.
If you're fully
then for sure it can be a positive thing.
I have to agree with all that. Partially because I have a marketing guy that keeps telling me that my brand doesn't match with my name. So yeah, I agree with that. I think that with the proper back end work beforehand, as Chance says, everybody's united and the right intentions with the company. Using myself and as that guinea pig, we're not doing it right now, but in the grand scheme of things, do I think if I rebranded our company, we're going through the book traction right now, so I know once we're out of that book, we're going to be so much stronger than we are right now. A rebranding at that point, once we all figure out who we are as a company, I think would skyrocket who we are.
Yeah.
With the right setup and the right commitment comes down to it.
And a lot of people get really excited about the whole entrepreneurship thing, especially nowadays. Everybody wants it. It's like the thing. It's like the fad. It's the freedom. It's the money.
It's the trap.
It's the show. It's the I don't know. It's the hustle and the grind and stuff like that. And those terms I feel like are way overused. And nobody really knows what it's like behind the doors. Everyone thinks the grass is greener on the other side.
Yeah, no.
And I think that's one of the reasons why the IRS is hiring 80-some thousand new people, is try to get these people to go back to work.
I hope that's the reason. I hope that's the reason, as opposed to some other thoughts that I've had.
That'd be nice.
That is a nice kind of podcast, though.
Yeah.
So we're not going to get into that one.
Yeah, exactly.
I've seen a big difference between the companies who actually take a moment, step back before they actually, the people who start them, take a moment, step back, figure out what are their values, what do they want people to feel or think or say when they experience their product or service or brand or whatever, right? Compared to those that just jump the gun. And understand, like, the hardest thing is just getting started, right? So once you get started, great, good job, But the companies that start and brand well from the very beginning, they grow exponentially.
100%.
Do you agree? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's why I'm going through a whole little bit right now, but yes. Now I just rebranded, 2 months ago? Went through a giant rebrand. Now I'm about to do it again.
Oh, yeah.
It's going to be crazy. Oh, it's not going to be good.
Yeah, you mentioned that earlier, and I was like,
Yeah.
my God, that's
It's going to suck.
whack.
But it's way down the road.
So I think you brought up a
Framework
great
right
point
now.
of taking a step back.
You just did this kind of with your team.
That we're doing it, not
doing
just
it.
did it. We are doing it right now.
Trenches.
If you've read the book Traction, it is a workbook. It is a process. As you guys already know, I've got a team already of there's 18 of us. That's a lot of moving parts to get on the same page. We're not worried about getting all 18 there yet. We're worried about, getting our leadership team there, which is 4 or 5 of us. But I think with saying that is you don't have to take a step back right after you get started. I mean, we've been in business now for 4 years. We've been, moving pieces around and in the business and whatnot. And just now getting to the point where we're taking a step back and looking back and realizing who we are, what our core values are, and what our mission is. And I think this is a great time to point out that everybody knows and feels that we're in a recession. Is it terrible? No, not really. Are we
At least not yet.
Yeah, and are we really going to feel it in Tulsa? I don't know. I mean, Tulsa's growing. Thankfully, we've got a good market here in Tulsa that hopefully we'll be able to ride it out pretty easily.
Like when COVID hit, it didn't hit Tulsa as bad compared to when it hit the other markets.
Right. Yeah. So with saying that, I think that if you happen to be thinking about rebranding or just refocusing your efforts in your company, right now is a phenomenal time to rethink that strategy, to rethink your brand, because right now is whenever the things are the hardest for all of us as business owners. We're going to come up with all kinds of different challenges that we haven't been dealt with for the past, 5 years or so. And that gives a time to, with the people that are going to be, the consumers that are going to continue spending money, you build a brand with them. And once we're out of this, if you can build that continuous experience with them, they will talk to their friends once we start getting out, once they start spending again. So right now, things may be tough for at least I know, myself, the business owners on my end. Everybody's going through these changes, right? And I think it's a great time to think about, well, maybe not close the doors, but maybe take this time that it's kind of slowing down, kind of take this time to figure out what's not working, to think about who do I want this company to be, because a company is not you. Your company is its very own being. Who do I want this company to be once we're out of this, once everybody's back up and running? And I think it's a great time for any business owner that wants to be there to push through this time, work on the hard, deep work for your business, because then on the back end work, that'll carry you, exponentially farther than you'd even imagine.
That's great, man.
So, we've been having some really good conversations. I'm going to shift a little bit. So brand awareness creates association, and I've got some notes here, so I'm going to kind of go off this. We've all had paper cuts, right? You more than likely put on a Band-Aid, the brand Band-Aid, right? And when you had a question, where did you go? Google, right? Why'd you go to Google? Why didn't you go to Bing? Why didn't you go to Yahoo? Why didn't you go to DuckDuckGo?
Google sounds better.
Almost everybody
Googled
goes to
it.
Google. I Googled it. That's the thing.
It's a verb now.
No, you went to DuckDuckGo.
Yeah, it's a verb.
But I Googled it.
Yeah,
You're right.
right.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's a hell of a brand right there.
Oh,
You have your own verb.
Yes.
And, most likely, those brands that you pick, it's like, Kleenex,
Yeah.
right? I need a Kleenex.
tissue.
No, you need a tissue, right? Speaking in brandless terms, Band-Aid should be referred to as bandage, right? Google is a search engine, and Xerox is a copier, right? You didn't go Xerox it. That's not a thing, right? It's a noun, not a verb. But it's more fun to refer to the brand itself, and even if we aren't using their specific product. And that's what brand awareness does. It associates the actions and products to those particular brands, and subconsciously it encourages us to replace common words with those branded terms, And before you know it, those simple paper cuts or picnics when you grab a Coke to go take it with you on a picnic, it's doing the marketing for us, right? Brand awareness builds a lot of brand equity, right? And then we were talking, mentioned that earlier about that one business, right, that had spent that money in marketing to build that brand equity. And part of the reason why I'd want to buy that business is because of the name, right, and what they've built and what people know. And it describes a brand's value, which is determined by the consumer experiences with, overall perception of the brand, positive experiences and perception, equally positive brand equity. And the same goes for negative notions. Yeah, so it can go either way, positive or negative, right? And it can go down a lot faster than it can go up. Didn't we? Did we say that last night? We were talking about something about that in the gym, about working out, right? How you can lose muscle mass. 3 months worth of muscle mass gone in 3 weeks.
Yeah. Terrible.
And consistency is key. And why is business and marketing any different, right?
Same thing.
So I've got a few notes about a few valuable things that come from positive brand equity. One of them is higher prices due to higher perceived value, a higher stock price, the ability to expand business through product or service line extensions, and a greater social impact due to the brand name value. And so I got a question for you guys behind that. And anybody watching live can pitch in on this as well. How does a brand establish and increase brand equity?
That's funny. I was actually just about to ask you the same question, because you're the marketing guy. So I'm going to put you on the spot. How do you think a company can create that brand awareness, and where do you think that starts?
It comes all the way from, I think, the first interaction that you have with that customer, and making sure that that interaction builds trust, professionalism, punctuality, things like those words that we've been mentioning this whole time. Those are really big, and being consistent with delivering a quality product or service consistently, right? The big key word here, I think, with branding and business in general is being consistent. If I go to, so it made me think of Starbucks. One of the books that I've read by, I think his name is Mike something. Anyways, he wanted to build Starbucks, as the CEO, he wanted to build Starbucks to where you can go anywhere in the world. And if you order an iced caramel macchiato, it's going to be made the same way in New York City as it will in Japan, as it will in Miami. You know, no matter where you go, it's going to remind you of home. It's going to feel comfortable. It's going to bring you that satisfaction, that comfort. And so I don't think it matters if you're doing power washing, and you know, maybe you take a little extra step to service your customer with something a little extra. I think that's really important by building brand awareness around consistently promoting positive experiences with the brand.
Right.
Does that answer your question?
Kind of, sort of, yeah. The reason I ask is because, you know, I just want to know, as a startup business, and I can't really use Chance as an example, and not because I can't, but I know how you started, right? And it wasn't more or less door-to-door, you know, door-to-door sales. It wasn't trying to go out and chase that customer. You had a pretty good idea of how to launch your company.
Yeah.
But the reason I think about that is whenever we started our company, and Josh, you said something a little bit ago about whenever you guys started with McDonald's and you were working, like, and Chance is, you know, I'm 2 months in, and the first thing that popped in my head was like, God, I remember those days. Like, oh God, I remember those days. And I miss them in a sense because it pushed you out of your comfort zone a little bit more.
You were hungry.
Right. But
Definitely.
at the same time, I'm extremely thankful to where we are now. But the reason I bring this up is whenever I started, probably similar to you, our brand was us. That's it. Again, Chance, not to take away from it being you, but yours isn't so much face-to-face interaction with customers.
It's not.
As Josh and I, we're selling ourselves.
Yeah, you are.
Right off the bat.
It's different.
So our brand is us. It's how you get out of that vehicle, what vehicle you're driving, what your cards look like, what you're wearing. I mean, it's literally everything. It's you. So, you know, even if you don't have a crazy awesome budget, or even if you don't have any idea what your brand is, you know, the way you carry yourself is in itself the beginning of your brand. And when I look at pictures of us, literally whenever we were starting, it's like, oh God, that's embarrassing.
That was me.
But
that was right, my truck.
Right, exactly. That was. I was rolling around in that. Oh my God.
Look, the sticker's not even straight. What are you doing?
Exactly. That type of stuff.
No,
exactly.
it's true.
But it's. I think it's crucial to go through those phases because you're also going through that through rebranding, right?
Yeah.
I think it's crucial to go through those phases because it makes you aware of what brand you're trying to build. Right. Whenever we start the business, if you guys were anything like me, like, man, you're just trying to work for yourself, set your own schedule, and feed your family or yourself, whatever that is, right? You're not thinking about, well, this brand I'm going to build to blah, 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 this and that. Like, right off the bat, if you guys are anything like me, you start off as I'm just a technician. I'm just trying to work. I'm just trying to earn the money, right? But in the grand scheme of things, you start to figure out what you want to do with your company and what this brand is like. And I think that's crucial because a lot of business owners that I've met, or not business owners, aspiring business owners, they want to figure out this whole picture first, right? And I think a lot of it comes down to like, and this great example, my hair. I used to cut my hair, and I used to take care of it because, well, I'm a brand new business. I can't be looking like a scrub. You know, I can't be going out and meeting these people like this. Like, I need to have a nice, clean haircut. I need to be shaved. I need to make sure whereas now my business has evolved a little bit. Now the hair gets to grow out finally, right? And it's like,
Let it down.
Right, exactly, right. But it's that whole idea of whenever you begin, invest in yourself. You know, get yourself, even if it's one shirt that you wash every day, to make sure you're wearing that one shirt. If it's the haircut, whatever it is, it's you first. You know, it's your brand. And I'm sure it was the exact same thing for Braden.
Oh, yeah.
He had to create himself first and then be building the business around that. And I think it's crucial because when you think about it, how Josh, you were saying, separating yourself from the business, is that first, when you're starting to build your brand, you have to be the brand.
Right.
You have to be it. And then when you get to a certain point in your business, or you get to a certain area of your business where you're like, you know what, now it's not so much me being the brand. The company has its own awareness around it, positive awareness, hopefully.
Right.
You can start to separate yourself from that brand. You can start to pull yourself away and let the hair grow out, or not wear a company shirt for every single minute of every single day. You know, there's so many aspects of that now.
He's like, I'll still do it.
I do it every day.
And I do
love
too.
it.
But like I said, I bring that up because I know we've all been in those similar positions where, you know, you don't want to be the brand, but you have to be the brand for a little bit. You have to. And then that also helps to create the systems, the culture, the experience that the customer has, because if you become that brand, then it's easier for you to pass that on and have other people emulate you. Whereas if you just figure out, like, this is what I want my company to look like, it's like, okay, that works. But if you are not the company that you expect to be a part of, it's never going to happen. You know, and I think, like I said, it all starts from the very beginning, yourself, presentability, how you talk to customers, like I said, everything from the vehicle you drive and everything, to where at some point, like now, I can pull up in a truck that's not stickered out, and that's okay. You know, whereas before, I'm like, I'm losing a sale every time I show up with that stickered out truck. You know, like all these things that are still part of your brand, but thankfully with the right team, you know, and everything, the company has grown enough to where there's enough awareness.
You don't have to rep it
24/7. 24/7, right. Which then allows you to create a brand in different areas of your business.
Right.
You know, where you can now focus on branding to your employees, you know, branding to your vendors, whatever these things. But it's still, in the grand scheme of things, a branding step, I guess you could say.
Yeah, and I was gonna throw something in there because you know, it's funny how for our businesses, yes, we don't have to show up that way necessarily every single time, but then we have some examples of business. I won't say their names in Tulsa, but like think of the one home builder who owns almost every single billboard spot.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
you know, like,
I could think of that one pretty quick.
Yep.
You know, so there's different, like, that's a whole nother level.
Yeah, that's
But
That almost became a free shout out.
yeah.
it almost, yeah.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm not going to say it unless you pay me.
But we, you know, we do a lot of work for that particular company, and every single one of their employees always has their stuff on. Like it's just how it is.
That's how it is.
But none of their work trucks have the name on it.
Yep.
They're
all just black.
Yeah, they're just black.
Because they could drive like assholes.
Exactly. Yeah, like we don't want that out there.
Like, we know how our people drive. We don't need to worry about that.
Yeah.
But it's one of those things where you're constantly seeing it. So it's, even if that company may not be your first choice or whatever, you know it. Mm-hmm. You're aware of it.
Yeah.
Do you know how much they spent on one university sponsorship? Because I know. Take a guess. Wild guess. It's a big local university.
Well, because I know that they've got both of
They have two.
Both of the big ones.
Mm-hmm.
We'll leave it as we hope to one day be able to do the same thing.
There we go. That's a good way to leave it.
Now, is this just for a year? I need some parameters.
12 months.
12 months? I'm going to say $500,000.
$932,000
Whoa.
on one of them.
Wow. Yeah, I hope to be me one day.
Now, they are in a...
That's a heck of a marketing budget. Right there, boys.
You know, a
There's levels of this shit.
local hospital pays a local university six figures as well to become official, but it's not nearly that high. But that's, again, you come back with branding. My dad lives in North Carolina, and he's still a diehard OU fan.
Yeah.
I don't even know. I don't think my dad went to OU, and I think part of my family
Probably not like
did.
a lot of the people that support him.
Yeah, I think part of my family did too. Right? Yeah.
That one up there.
But it's just funny, like how people are loyal. You know, like earlier I was talking about the Kansas City Chiefs versus like Dallas.
Yep.
Like you could be one part of the country and still be a diehard Chiefs fan or Panthers fan or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, why? What is it? Is it the colors? Like, you don't know anybody there. But you're a diehard fan.
Yeah.
You think you know the quarterback and you're friends with him? Like, not everybody is, but I don't know. Like,
Just branding. That's what it is, man.
Something about that particular team or whatever just resonates, and then people just grab hold of that. You know,
there's something
the
that
thing
they
is,
feel like they're a part of.
Everybody wants to be a part of something, you know, and
Everyone wants to be a part of something.
So I think I've got a great example for that, actually. So I know some people obviously pick their teams based on who their parents liked, right? I know. I feel like that carries.
I do.
Whenever it comes to your team, the make of the car you drive, a million things, and I think that's a great point to put that those companies, those businesses, they built trust and loyalty with one person
From the start.
from the start,
From day one.
And I bring this up because there is a couple of people that I know that Josh knows, that I first did work for their dad. And then later on, I did work for one of the brothers. And then later on, I used one of the brothers' businesses. And then I put it all together that all these people were related and father, sons, and everything. And it came down to, do we work together often? No, not necessarily. But the ARC name carries in that family, as in just like, oh, they knew who we're talking about. So, again, going to the home builder, you may not use that home builder, but you at least are aware of my brand. Yeah. Which again, to Toyota fans, Ford fans, OU fans, whatever, you may be the black sheep of the family that likes OSU and everybody else likes OU, but you know who OU is, and you always will. So it's that building that trust and that loyalty within that one person that goes extremely far. Sorry.
Yeah, and one of my notes are.
Yeah.
mic drop.
Just let me put this on you real quick.
One of my notes were once a consumer is aware of a brand, they start to recognize it without assistance. They seek it out to make a purchase and begin to prefer it over similar brands and establish a loyalty that not only spurs on other purchases but also inspires recommendations to family and friends. That is why brand awareness is so important. It helps keep you top of mind, which is why that one home builder is everywhere. When you are ready to build a home and you want the highest quality home, who are you going to call? Ghostbusters? No.
Yeah.
Maybe. It establishes trust with those customers. You said it pretty well. I'm just going to put in a little bit different lingo. It establishes trust with your customers and creates positive associations and builds invaluable brand equity that allows your brand to become a household name and a consumer staple. Powerful stuff. Yeah. Brand is powerful.
Yeah, 100%.
End of the line. And it's some great ways to be able to organize those, to be able to like visualize your brand, to be able to organize all your assets. I've made a few things like a brand sheet. Like, what does your brand look like all together on a piece of paper if you were to like take all these different assets? Because a lot of people associate these assets and they'll be like, this is my brand, right? But don't forget that your brand is not just what it is on paper or what you can, it's not a sign. It's the experience that you have, which is kind of the whole conversation that we've been having, But it is nice to see, like, if you were to take, this is a free spotlight here.
Company.
Free spotlight. So, shout out. So you take those different elements, and once you build the brand, visually representing, what does it mean? What does it say? What does it, what do people, and then you have the people to back it. And everything that you're building too, and Threaded's got an awesome brand. Man,
they really do.
Built to give back.
Built to give back.
And how do you do that?
So we do it on two parts. Our main goal of our company is to be St. Jude's largest donor in the next few short years.
That's a big goal. What is that? What number is that?
I don't really talk about it a whole lot because it is a really, really big number.
Yeah, we all know that.
It's $100 million.
Let's do it.
100%. I'm trying. And I'm not after the money. If I'm at a point in my life where I can donate $100 million, money is just like nothing. I don't. It's worry a tool. About it. It's a tool. It's 100% a tool. And so I'm not after it for the money. I want to be able to be known to be the person that did the most for it. In a way, I'm not trying to like gloat or none of that, but that's just what I want to do with my life. I want to make a difference.
Yeah, I love that.
I appreciate that.
Impacts.
Yeah.
Impact.
All right. So, do you guys want to wrap up some final thoughts, or do you have anything else?
I think I'm good.
I had one little thought.
What you got?
Yeah,
What you got?
just it reminded me of a conversation I was having with Ryan, my business partner, earlier today. We were talking about that scenario that I mentioned earlier, with the customer. And one of the things that, I'm just kind of recognizing and thinking back on as we're talking about brand, something that I realized was so important to me is that and I said this to Ryan earlier, I said, I want people to make a conscious decision to not choose us. Like if they decide to use another company, they had to go through a thought process of, well, this company provided me the most information, and they were giving me so much value on the front end before I had given them any commitment of giving them any money. I wanted them to make a conscious decision that they weren't going to go with us. And hopefully that's because they just had an unbelievable experience with someone else.
Right.
But normally that's not the case. And so, if I could share that just little piece of information with somebody else and say, as you are building your brand and thinking of the things that are most valuable to you that you want to share with a customer and in that experience, I think for me, one of the most important things was realizing how important it is to give. And, that reminded me when you were saying that towards the end too, like giving value before you have anyone has decided to give you money for your service.
Yeah.
And then people will choose you and choose your brand because it just makes sense. Like, why would I choose anyone else? Because this company's given so much just right off the bat.
Right.
So, yeah, it's a little closing thought for me.
Building customer loyalty is very important for me. Try to figure out different ways to do that, whether it's like, I don't know, some of that can be a monetary value. Some of that can be spending extra time with somebody, like, hey, let's go to the gym. Like, even though, like, we've built a friendship, like, we've hung out on Saturday and, like, we've went to the gym at 9:30 at night.
Yeah. Gotta get the sessions in.
And
even if it's like the third one that day.
Yeah, right.
I was going for moral support for you. I wasn't there really to work out.
Yeah.
I was tired.
Appreciate it.
You're welcome.
So, but then again, like, that builds loyalty between two people, between two parties, right?
Mm-hmm.
So,
That's what it comes down to.
You got any recap thoughts?
No. I think with the branding, I mean, we're dead on. I think I brought up a point earlier of how branding can start with yourself, each individual one of us. And I just want to share a story that Josh knows. I've got a great customer that I love her so dearly. And carrying on a beautiful branding thing that Josh does is he made me look terrible to one of my favorite customers. And that
Congratulations, Josh.
again, but it goes down to just the story.
We got to follow that up with something.
The story he just said of consciously choosing to go with someone else. He made me look terrible to one of my favorite customers, and I love that he did that, because in my eyes, that made me, one, sure that I'm hanging out with the right people, associating with the right people, but two, want to push my business farther because I wanted to be more like him. Because if I had a customer who loved me and she called me to specifically tell me that I sucked compared to Josh, that's great. That's a amazing branding, and it started with just him. So again, it doesn't have to be us, but it starts with us. Since these companies, we are the leaders of them.
Absolutely. You're really good at being a leader. I look up to you for that. You do a good job.
I don't know about that.
Give credit where credit is due.
Yeah, 100%.
Yep.
I don't know about that.
I know your people look at you that way too.
Oh, you're not. He's not the only one. Come on now. Don't cut yourself short.
Oh, appreciate that.
You're welcome.
There's a room full of us here.
Here, can we just toss the ball around? All right. You guys ready to wrap it up then?
Yeah, I'm cool.
Wrap it up.
All right. I'm Braden Cruz, streaming live at the Blue Studio. I'm with Sooner Marketing Solutions, where we deliver marketing solutions that deliver sooner results.
Abel Rodriguez with ARC Outdoorsman, where we are creating and maintaining your outdoor living.
Chance Jones with Threaded Industries, where we are a brand built to give back.
Josh Adeshkan with Accurate Power Washing and Accurate Concrete Coatings, and I need to work on a brand message.
I like it. All right, guys. Appreciate you tuning in.